Noble Company, America's premier manufacturer of waterproofing membranes, is pleased to present ProBase II Single-Sloped Base and Kit. Viewing this video is not a substitute for reading and following current written instructions for the products used. To begin, confirm that the subfloor meets all local codes and TCNA guidelines. Subfloor must be flat and level. Backer board must be installed prior to installing the bases. Measure the shower floor for the desired drain and curb placement. Mark the location for the curbs. Set one curb in place. Then, measure from the end of the curb to the wall. Measure and cut the second curb to size. Dry fit both curbs in place. Trace the location of the curbs onto the subfloor. Place drain base in the desired location. The waste pipe may be installed after the drain if there is access from below. Alternative drain body installations include concrete subfloors and subfloors with existing plumbing. Follow the instructions provided for those applications. Fasten the drain base to the subfloor with the 2 1/2 inch deck screws provided. Noble Company's ProBase II kit includes 2 reinforced base pieces and 3 shims. The base pieces should be sloped toward the drain. Check each piece prior to cutting to ensure the correct slope to drain. To install the ProBase II, first, measure the inside edge of the curb to the wall. Measure and cut the first piece to the measured width, taking care only to cut the width of the base and not the length. Dry fit the first piece into place. Next, measure from the end of base A to the wall. Allow a 1/8 inch gap between the second piece and the back wall. Then, cut the second piece to those measurements. The base can be easily trimmed using a straight edge and a utility knife. Dry fit base piece B into place next to base piece A to ensure a proper fit. Next, measure the area where the shims will be used. Cut the shims as necessary and dry fit. Apply modified thin set to the substrate using a 1/4 inch by 3/8 inch by 1/4 inch square notched trowel. Key in modified thin set to the bottom and inside edge of both bases. Set bases in place with the slope towards the drain. Key in modified thin set to the bottom and edges of the shims. Then, set into place. Use firm foot pressure to fully embed the base and shims. Apply thin set to the bottom and ends of the solid curb. Embed the curbs into the thin set using firm pressure. Use a level or flat edge to ensure the curbs are flat and level. To install the shower pan, first, measure the shower floor area, adding 2 inches for upturns. Cut and fold value seal to those measurements. Dry fit the value seal to confirm proper fit. Spread modified thinset using the appropriate trowel to achieve coverage. Be sure to cover the base and upturns. Embed the value seal into the floor and upturns using the flat edge of a trowel or a roller. To seal the drain, temporarily install the clamping collar by attaching 2 5/8" screws in each end. Do not over-tighten. Cut and remove the membrane from inside of the clamping collar. Then, remove the screws and clamping collar from the drain body. Apply a 1/4 inch continuous bead of Noble sealant under the value seal next to the chamfer on the drain base. Reattach the clamping collar and complete the installation of all of the 5/8" screws included. This completes the watertight seal. To install Noble thin line inside corners, set the corners into place and mark the area where the thinset will be applied. Then, spread modified thinset on the entire marked area. Embed Noble thin line inside corners using a margin trowel. Next, install value seal waterproofing sheet membrane over the curb. First, measure the length of the curb. Cut a piece of value seal to the measured length. Measure from the top of the curb to the lowest point at the drain. Transfer that measurement to the value seal. Then, measure from the top of the curb to the highest point and transfer that measurement to the value seal. Cut and crease value seal to the size. Then, dry fit the sheet over the curb. To install the value seal onto the curb, apply modified thinset to the curb and seam onto the shower pan 2 inches. Embed value seal to the curb using the flat edge of a trowel or a roller. To install Noble thin line outside corners, set the corners in place and mark the area where thinset will be applied. Apply modified thinset to the marked area. Embed Noble thin line outside corners using a margin trowel. Embed the second piece in a shingle-like fashion. Next, measure the walls for value seal, allowing 2 inches for seaming. Apply modified thinset to the walls and seams. Embed value seal with the flat edge of a trowel or roller. Continue this process on all of the shower walls. A Noble niche has already been installed. To expose the niche, carefully cut the value seal from the recessed area. To install the Noble thin line pipe collar, first, mark the location where modified thinset will be applied. Apply the modified thinset to the marked area and embed the Noble thin line pipe collar using a margin trowel. To install the Noble thin line mixing valve collar, first mark the location where the modified thinset will be applied. Apply a modified thinset to the marked area and embed the Noble thin line mixing valve collar using a margin trowel. Allow sufficient time for curing, then flood test the shower in accordance with local plumbing code requirements. Complete the FreeStyle Linear Drain installation by installing the pre-strainers using 1/2 inch pan head screws to secure each pre-strainer in place. Next, install the height adjustment screws. Install all 1 1/4 inch flathead height adjustment screws to 3/8 inches above the clamping collar. Set the strainer over the height adjustment screws and temporarily fasten it with 3 1-inch pan head screws. Protect the strainer with tape. Install tile and grout and allow for 1/16 inch clearance between the strainer and the tile. Do not apply grout in this space. Viewing this video is not a substitute for reading and following current written instructions for the products used. For more information on ProBase II and other premium Noble Company products, visit www.noblecompany.com.